Hello everyone, thank you for taking the time to join us today at CrispCall Power Session. I believe you are just as curious and excited about today's topic as we are. And I'm Swastika Timsina, Project Manager here at CrispCall and your host for today's webinar. And as the title already mentions, the hidden cost of manual CRM calling and how CrispCall fixes that. We are here to unpack something that most teams don't immediately question. Manual CRM calling that often looks like harmless, but is it? A call gets completed, or log is added later, or contact is created manually, or notes are written somewhere and updated afterward. It feels manageable, but over time, those small manual actions begin to create friction. Call log inconsistencies, contact duplication, data entry errors, missed or delayed follow-ups, and sometimes even the small challenge of tracking down notes when they are needed most. For decision makers, this shows up as unclear reporting and unreliable visibility. For operation leaders, it becomes constant effort to maintain clean data and structure workflows. And for frontline teams, it's everyday friction of switching tabs, recreating contacts, and spending more time updating system than actually having a meaningful conversation. So in this webinar, our goal is very simple to break down what's actually happening beneath the surface, especially when calls and CRM workflows are disconnected, and to explore how modern teams are restructuring their systems so that calling activity, data, follow-ups work as one connected process. To guide us better and deeper into this discussion, Divas Regmi, the integration partner manager at CrispCall, has joined me for today's session. Divas works closely with CRM ecosystems and integration workflows, helping teams align their calling processes directly within their CRM structure, not as separate tools, but as one unified system. So, hello, Divas. It's great to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Swastika. It's great to be here. And I think you framed the situation very accurately. Manual CRM calling really feels like a serious issue. It only feels like a routine load, almost an operational procedure. But when you step back and observe how teams actually work day to day, you can easily notice the gaps. Imagine an agent finishes a call and says, I'll update the CRM in a minute. And if somehow the tracking gets missed or is not accurate later, the CRM stops reflecting the true relationship that was built. We've seen this across multiple teams, strong salespeople, well defined processes, yet there are hidden operational frictions. And that friction is due to the disconnection in the system businesses rely on. So, our agenda for this session is focused on removing that friction and closing the gap with CrispCall, the AI powered phone app that's designed for modern businesses. We'll begin by looking at what actually breaks when calling and how CRM workflows operate separately. Then we'll explore the business impact this creates across sales and operations. From there, we'll discuss how modern teams are shifting their approach, moving towards CRM and telephony automation to build a structured system intelligence. And finally, we'll look at how teams are running these workflows inside CrispCall in a practical and streamlined way with Pipedrive, which is one of the 100 plus CRM platforms that CrispCall integrates with.
Thank you, Divas. That gives us a very clear direction of this session's takeaway. Also, toward the end of the session, we'll pause for a short Q&A to address a few things. We have received some of the most frequent questions around optimizing CRM and calling workflows lately. So this could be a perfect time for our audience to know about it.
Definitely.
So let's start with the friction at the foundation itself. With the first and most important question, what's really happening when calling and CRM workflows are operating separately? Because before we talk about phone integration, everything still seems functional. Calls are happening, deals are moving, CRMs are being updated, but is it actually working for as a system? So Divas, what are we truly looking at here?
Sure, Swastika. Let's establish something clearly from the beginning. What we're looking here at is not failure, it's fragmentation. The systems are working, the team is working, but there are compensating for the gaps manually. And when a system depends on human correction to stay accurate, it is functional but fragile. The extra load the team carries every day keeps performance stable for a while, but the load limits scalability. Efficiency may look maintained today, but it's not compounding. And when systems don't compound effectively, growth eventually slows. That's the hidden risk, not an immediate collapse, but a constraint that erodes visibility, speed, and weakens customer relationships over time. That is the real cost of manual CRM calling.
That's a strong way to put it. And because when team compensate manually, the work is still getting done, but it gets done slower, with more room for error, and it becomes harder to retrieve later. And all the while, the operational load and stays in the background as a constant risk. So let's make this practical. How does that load actually show up in day-to-day operations? Because where do teams begin to feel the friction? Is it before a call starts, right after it ends, while trying to log the details, while setting up the next follow-up, or when someone else on the team needs the context and can't find it easily? Give us when you see teams working without a connected CRM calling workflow, what does it really look like on the desk?
It actually doesn't start and doesn't end kind of scenario. Let me explain what I mean to say here. Suppose I'm at my desk about to start my tasks. I open the CRM, copy the customer's number, switch to my phone, and dial it, making sure there's no error. Now, during the call, I'm completely on the phone, not inside the CRM. So, whatever information I have with me before the call starts, that's all I have to move the deal forward. If I suddenly need more context, previous notes, past objections, or earlier commitments, there's no easy way that I can access that in the moment. So I manage the conversation with whatever I remember or whatever I managed to note earlier. The call ends. Now I need to update everything in the CRM, the call logs, the outcome, the context, what the customer said, what I've promised, what is the next. Wait for the follow up with another handful of deals. Maybe I can note these immediately. Maybe I can update it later. But the same cycle is constantly on repeat. Copy another follow up number from the same CRM, switch to the phone, make the call, track the details somewhere, somehow, come back and update it. However, you do it, and yes, it works, looks functional too, until one detail is misplaced. Customer A's note ends up with under customer B. A follow up reminder gets missed. An objection isn't logged clearly. Now the agent is stressed, the context is blurred, and the customer feels the disconnect. That's how the friction builds, not in one dramatic moment, but in repetition.
That truly sounds like sitting on a ticking risk. One small error, and you don't immediately know how far the domino effect might go. Because it's not just one missed log, it could be delayed follow-up, a confused handover, or a conversation that does not pick up where it left off. And when this pattern repeats across an entire team, it's I guess no longer just an operational inconvenience. It actually starts affecting performance, I guess.
Yes, it truly is.
Okay, so if this is happening across every agent every day, what does that translate at the team or business level? Since follow-ups rely more on memory, CRM depends on discipline rather than structure. Every call goal leads to extra cost instead of confident closing. What is actual business impact of the CRM and calling disconnection?
The easiest way to put is businesses with the disconnection only experience delayed intelligence. At the team level, managers lose real time visibility. They rely on the data that is manually updated, sort of like call logs and activities that may not fully reflect the entire conversation, which means decisions are made on partial data. Forecasting becomes reactive instead of predictive. Deals stages delay. Not always because the conversation lacked context. Sometimes they move because the update was late or because the context was simply misplaced. At the execution level, agents' performance will gradually slow down, sometimes without even realizing it, not because they lack skill, but because they continuously carry a cognitive load. They are remembering commitments, tracking objections mentally, cross checking notes, switching tools. That automatically reduces their confidence during calls. Call fatigue becomes a reality. because the admin tasks that can be automated are becoming an unnecessary load. And when confidence drops, closing power drops with it. At the customer level, the impact is subtle, but again serious. A follow up feels slightly delayed. A previous objection is repeated. A detail needs to be re explained, and trust weakens. Over time, this connection affects three core areas: visibility, speed, and consistency. And with it, growth starts to stop. While agents keep their giving their best, that is the actual business impact, constraint that open paths to more confusion.
That puts it into clear perspective because what you have described isn't a lack of effort, it's a lack of structural alignment. And agents are still working hard, managers are still reviewing pipelines, but the system itself isn't compounding their effort. And when effort does not compound, it directly caps on performance. So if the issue isn't talent and it isn't intent, it should be the structure.
It actually is the structure because the friction here isn't a gap of not doing, but a task that can be automated easily. Only acts as constraints as part of the job.
That's a critical distinction. If the friction isn't about effort, but about the structure, then the solution isn't asking teams to work harder. It's redesigning how the system works, and this is where modern teams are evolving. They are not just integrating tools; they are building what you refer to as system intelligence, where calls, activities, context, and follow-ups don't depend on memory. They move automatically within a connected workflow. So diverse many modern teams are already creating this system intelligence with CRM and telephony automation, and businesses not yet into this shift. Clearly, most know about it. So could you guide us a bit about what does that shift look like in practice?
Of course. First, let me simplify what we mean by system intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence in the technical sense, it's more aligned with operational intelligence, which means the system understands what just happened and responds automatically. Think of it as an automation and synchronization between activities that traditionally happens across separate tools. The shift looks like this. When you perform the action in one place, the same action reflects instantly inside the connected system. And in practice, instead of manually repeating tasks, the system synchronizes them in real time.
That makes sense. So instead of repeating actions across tools, the workflow becomes connected. So let's bring this back, specifically calling and CRM. If we look at the calling workflow for customers and contact instead of CRM, before the call, during the call, and after the call, where does this operational intelligence begin to change things? What does a connected workflow actually feels like for the agent working inside the CRM?
The difference becomes visible immediately at the before stage. Before the call even begins, the system already aligns the call with the correct contact. The agent doesn't need to copy numbers, doesn't need to switch tools. The context of full conversation, previous notes, tail stages, last interactions, logs is already connected to the action of calling. That removes hesitation before the conversation even starts. Now, during the call, this is where intelligence reduces cognitive pressure. Instead of relying entirely on memory, the agent stays anchored to the context in the CRM. They're not thinking about what do I need to update later. They're focused on conversation itself because they know the activity is in sync. And that changes the tone of the interaction. It allows more confident conversation. If they still need to keep notes, it can be done on the phone and autosave in the CRM itself without the need to track it later. Now the shift becomes more obvious after the call. The system captures the activity, the call activity, logs the duration, associates it with the right contact, even triggers a notification for the next action that are required. Instead of reconstructing what happened, the agent simply adds and syncs meaningful notes. The workflow doesn't depend on repetition anymore, it depends on the structure. And when this structure carries the extra load, agents operate with clarity, managers operate with visibility, and customer experience continuity.
Perfect. And this is how modern team creates system intelligence with CRM and telephony automation. Now that we've understood building intelligence into calling workflows within CRM. Can we make this bit more tangible? Because a clear implementation scenario where transformation actually happens, we have spoken about connected workflows, automatic synchronization, and system driven education. It would be even better to learn about how this actually works in practice, bringing clarity to queries like how are teams running these connected calling workflows inside CrispCall, and what does it look like when this structure is fully implemented.
Absolutely, Swastika. And that was one of the core agendas of today's session, as we've discussed prior. CRISPR already integrates with 100 plus CRM platforms, making calling workflows automation and building system intelligence inside this CRM. Let's understand these workflows are specific to Pipedrive users. How can they use CRISPR connected with Pipedrive and automate their daily calling workflows inside Pipedrive?
That's helpful. So now we're moving from the idea of connected workflows to actual implementation within Pipedrive. For teams already managing their contacts, deal, pipeline inside Pipedrive, how does this change their daily calling workflow? What can they now do differently once CRISCall is integrated? So what becomes seamless or what becomes automatic?
Certainly, once a user signs up and logs into the CRISPR dashboard, they can navigate to the integration section with settings. From there, Pipedrive is available as one of the supported CRM platforms. The connection itself is very straightforward. Users simply authenticate using their Pipedrive API credentials. And once the two platforms are connected, that's where the automation layer becomes active. The first immediate impact is contact synchronization. Contacts between CRISPCall and Pipedrive stay aligned. If a new contact is created in Pipedrive, it reflects in CRISPCall. And if a new number is added to CRISPCall, the system syncs it inside Pipedrive without duplication. This ensures that your CRM and the phone system remains as a single hub of two platforms. Then the second shift happens with call logging. Every inbound and outbound call, missed calls, as well as incoming and outgoing SMS automatically syncs into Pipedrive as an activity. Call duration, timestamps, call notes, and even recordings and voicemails are attached to the correct contact or deal. So instead of reconstructing conversations later, the history is already structured inside the CRM without any additional effort. The third change is how calls are initiated. User can make call directly from inside Pipedrive, but for that, users needs to install the CRISPR dialer extension on their browser. Then click to call immediately becomes part of the deal workflow. There is no need to copy numbers or switch to a separate phone app. And beyond calls, SMS conversation is also embedded within Pipedrive. User can send and receive SMS directly from the CRM interface, which means phone interactions, whether voice or text, remain centralized in one system. So the workflow is no longer fragmented. Calling, logging, follow-ups, and messaging are all operated inside the CRM environment. That's where automation makes the calling workflow in CRM truly operational intelligence.
So essentially, the CRM itself becomes the phone app whenever the calling workflow is necessary. Calls are initiated inside it, SMS stays inside it, contacts, call logs, recordings, voicemails, and notes are automatically synced, which means this the customer relationship stays intact without the risk and the need to depend on manual effort. That definitely improves productivity, but also improves visibility and data accuracy. So, because managers are now seeing real-time activity, not reconstructed updates, right?
Yes, and whether it's Pipedrive or any of the other CRM CRISPR is integrated with, the core automation remains the same. Contact sync, automatic call logging, real-time activity, click to call and SMS integration. The objective doesn't change. To ensure that calling workflows are fully embedded inside the CRM environment so that the team can operate with one connected system regardless of the CRM.
It's a great thing to hear from teams now, and that it solves the challenges that was holding better relationship with customers and steady growth of the entire business. And now that we've approached closer to the end of this webinar, let's answer some questions we've gathered over the past few months. In the feedback conversations and implementation discussions, we've shortlisted some recurring questions for CRM integration and calling automation inside it. So, Divas, shall we begin?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with one of the most common question. How long does it actually take to connect a CRM in CrispCall?
The setup is quite straightforward. In most cases, it only takes a few minutes. You authenticate your CRM using your API credentials, configure basic integration preferences, and the connection becomes active. There is no heavy technical setup required. Once connected, the automation begins immediately, so teams can start experiencing structured workflows without long onboarding cycles.
Okay, so now moving to the next question. How many phone numbers can a team use within a CRM integration?
Yes, this is often where most teams face concerns. A CRM can use as many phone numbers that is available in their CRISPR account. Teams can even allocate numbers separately for SMS and calls, which allows them to better track campaigns as they need them.
So I guess there is one more. It's a question from a managerial point of view. What benefits do I get as a manager with phone integration in the CRM?
That's a very important question. From a managerial point of view, the biggest benefit is clarity. With phone integration inside the CRM, managers no longer depend on second-hand updates. Every call activity is logged automatically. Call duration, outcomes, notes, recordings, all tied directly to the relevant contact or deal. This creates real-time visibility. User can see which deals are actively progressing, which conversations are happening, and where follow-ups are pending. It also improves accountability because activity are structured within the CRM. That creates less ambiguity about what was done and what needs to happen next. From a coaching perspective, call recordings and detailed logs make it easier to review conversations and guide team based on actual interactions, not assumptions. And from a forecasting standpoint, your pipeline reflects live activity, not delayed entries, not reconstructed updates. So the integration doesn't just help agents move faster, it helps manager makes decision with confidence. That's the real managerial advantage.
Okay, so these answers clearly distinguish the operational as well as the beneficial queries of our users had. And now that we've come to the end of this session, anything you want to add to the audience for joining us today?
Thank you, Swastika. If there's one thing I want audiences to take away from this session is the hidden cost of manual CRM calling isn't just an extra effort, it's delayed visibility, slower execution, and missed opportunities to strengthen customer relationships. Modern teams are solving this by embedding calling directly into the CRM workflows so that effort compounds and removes friction that build risk. For any queries, reach out to us anytime, and thank you once again for being part of this power session.
Thank you, Divas, and thank you to everyone who joined us today and stayed with us throughout this discussion. We truly appreciate your time and attention as we explore the shift isn't about adding more tools, it's about aligning the structure behind your workflows so your team can perform with clarity and confidence. If today's session sparked new thoughts about your current CRM and calling setup, we encourage you to continue the conversation with us. Our team is always available to walk you through your specific use case and help you evaluate how connected your workflow truly is. Once again, thank you for being part of Chris Call Power Session.